Hello, keepers! Welcome to episode 3 of my Goalkeeper Academy series. If you've missed episode 1 and 2, be sure to click the link above. In this episode, we're going to talk about shot stopping. The number one thing a goalkeeper needs to be able to do is, of course, stop shots. First, let's look at the controller scheme and the options that you have as a goalkeeper. So there are three main options that you can pick: manual, semi-assisted, and assisted. Now, manual is basically the only saves that are automatic are reflex saves. Everything else will depend on player positioning, timing, and the direction you attempt to save. This setting only impacts user control goalkeepers. So there are some goalkeepers I know out there that do play with manual, but I think that manual is very unforgiving, and there are a lot of issues with animation bugs and animation problems. You have stick delay, you have ping delay, and so that makes for a very unforgiving control scheme when you're talking about fully manual. In an ideal world, you know, when FC24 or future FC games are fully esports ready and everybody's using manual passing, manual shooting, manual goalkeeping, then this will be a different story. But I think talking about competitive clubs right now in the current state of the game, I highly recommend that you don't do manual, and then instead you look at semi or assisted control scheme. In previous versions of FIFA, I used assisted and I would make great saves. It was very consistent. There were, of course, problems, as there are with every version of FIFA, but for the most part, I was happy with assisted. And it's forgiving as well. But with semi-assisted, which is balls that travel within close proximity to a player's body will automatically be saved. That includes reaction saves. For all other situations, the save depends on whether or not you get positioning and timing right. So positioning and timing right, and so basically, it's going to be much less forgiving in terms of your timing, your positioning. Not a massive difference between semi-assisted and assisted, especially when you consider that you're using L1 to auto position or at least get a guided positioning. So it's really more timing and direction that you're going to need to get right for semi-assisted. Fully assisted, balls within close proximity to the goalkeeper's body will be automatically saved. For all other situations, positioning is important, but autosave will always make the attempt toward the ball. This setting only impacts user control goalkeeper. So essentially, fully assisted, or assisted as I call it here, I call it fully assisted, basically means you don't have to do too much as long as your positioning is pretty good and some of your timing. But for the most part, the computer is gonna basically help make you a lot of saves, essentially. So the issue in FC24, at least as of this video, there are a couple of animation problems. One is what we're basically dubbing the statue animation bug. And this is where in certain instances, in certain shots, finesse shots outside the box, power shots outside the box or edge of the box, and some close proximity shots, your goalkeeper, even if you're in the right position, even if you have the right timing, will not make a save animation. This is a well-documented bug from a lot of goalkeepers. I've reached out to a lot of goalkeepers just to make sure that this is a thing and it's not just me. And it does appear to be a thing, and there are certain triggers and certain shots that seem to be more consistent to trigger the statue animation bug. What I have found is that it happens mainly, or for the most part, in assisted, although it can happen in semi-assisted. It is much more prevalent in fully assisted, and I think it has something to do with the fact that because the computer is taking over a lot of your saves and your save animations, that this bug is being triggered when you're on assisted, whereas with semi-assisted, it's less so because some of that CPU controlled save or some of the save animations are more contingent user controlled behavior versus the CPU or the what we call the RNG aspect of the game. And so I think it's happening less. So far from my experience, it's happening less at semi-assisted. And so I would currently recommend, if you are a medium to advanced level goalkeeper, to use semi-assisted. If you're a beginning goalkeeper and you're just starting to learn, I recommend you use assisted until you really kind of understand the goalkeeping. But for now, I'm going to go with semi-assisted in a lot of these instances. let's first talk about L1. Now, this used to be pretty controversial. You know, some goalkeepers would scoff at people who use L1 too much, blah, blah, blah. I think largely unfounded. I think there's no reason why you shouldn't use L1. It's there. It's been created over many years as a tool to let goalkeepers know positioning. If you're a brand new goalkeeper or if you're a fairly new goalkeeper, L1 gives you a very good understanding of the proper angles from certain shots. And mathematically, it is correct in almost all cases. So in short, use L1, use it to understand the angles, with the understanding that there are going to be instances where you won't make saves if you use L1. And I'll go over those. One thing I do also recommend is not holding L1 a lot. So short bursts where you're tapping or you're holding L1 for a short period of time to get your goalkeepers to snap into place is the best way to do it. If you're just holding down L1 the entire time, the problem that you run into is as strikers come at you with the ball and you're trying to cut off the angle with L1, if they change directions quick, your goalkeeper is going to snap to different basically positions if you're holding L1. And it is a football simulation game, so there are things like momentum and inertia built into it, and that applies to goalkeepers as well. So if you are quickly having to snap from different positions, left to right, side to side, your inertia in your player, your goalkeeper, is going to be slightly off balanced, and that's going to cause issues when he has to make a save to the other side, or when, you know, if the striker pivots to the right and you are holding L1, your goalkeeper is going to snap to the right, and then, you know, if he shoots to the left, your momentum is going to carry you a little bit past the lock-on circle or the positioning circle. Your momentum and your body weight and your inertia is going to carry you a little bit past that, and that's going to reduce the ability of your goalkeeper to then make a save to the other side. So you want to try to keep your goalkeeper's inertia and center of gravity pretty much center at all times, and by doing that, you're going to allow yourself to make better quicker reflex saves to different sides. It's a very minute detail, and I think it's something that beginner goalkeepers may not need to worry about right away, but it's something that you want to keep in mind. So I do taps of the L1, or I'll do little press and hold real quick. The only time I will ever hold L1 is if I am at a near post and then the ball goes to the back post and I'm trying to quickly go from near post to my back post. There are other ways to do that. You can sprint, you can jockey, but sometimes holding L1 allows the computer to take over and get your guy to the opposite side of the post quickly in a right position, so you don't need to worry about manually moving and then or sprinting across, manually moving and doing all these things, because you don't have any time when it's, you know, redirected from near post to back post, in particularly on crosses and corners. Okay, so let's quickly cover basic shot stopping. So very simply put, and I wasn't very good at math, but essentially making a save is essentially all about angles. So geometry, trigonometry, whatever you want to call it, essentially what you're doing as a goalkeeper is you're stepping out of your net so that you're increasing the coverage distance in which you can make a save while reducing the angle and the space that a shot can come and get by you, essentially. And so that's what the L1 is great for. It gives you a starter in terms of understanding the mathematical angles in which to cut off certain shots from. It's not the end-all be-all, as I mentioned, but it's a great starting point. So to start out with, let's focus on side shots. So side shots are really great for you because it allows you to cut off the angle and reduce the likelihood of a shot. Pretty high chance of doing it. There's not a really good angle when you're coming in from a side shot in which to, you know, get scored on. Goalkeeper's first number one rule is you need to guard your near post, right? Because your near post is the angle in which it's most improbable that they're going to get a shot through, right? But from a striker's perspective, it's the easier shot to make, right? So a lot of strikers are going to try to get past your near post. So when in doubt, guard your near post. And you'll hear this from even announcers will make, you know, comments about, oh, he got scored on by his near post, that really shouldn't happen, and blah blah blah. And yes and no. So for the most part, if you get scored on near post, it means you're not cutting off the angle properly. But the exception, of course, is a shot that's taken really close to you where you don't have the reaction time. There are goals scored at the highest levels of Premier League near post all the time, and it's not always the goalkeeper's fault. There is a certain level of just striker hitting a ball super hard, super fast from, you know, a meter away from you, 2 meters away, you know, it's going to go in. You know, you just can't react at a certain point. Your reaction time is just not going to be there. And, you know, there is always going to be a little angle from the near post, because while you want to make it hard for them to score far post while you're covering near post, you don't want to give it up completely. So you don't want to go an error on the side of completely covering the near post 100% and then leaving a larger gap and a larger angle on the far post. Good strikers will be able to score from that just as well. So you need to be somewhere, you know, in that middle ground area where, yes, you're covering 60% of your near post, leaving 40% of your far post, or more of a 55% or 50%. I like to err a little bit more on the side of the near post. So I'll go more of a 60% near post coverage and a 40% far post, because the way I see it is, if they score far post, then it's a great shot. You did what you had to do. You cover your near post, and they just made a great shot, right? Sometimes you have to give credit where credit's due. You can't save every single shot. You're never going to have 100% save percentage. Strikers are good at what they do as well. So you got to recognize that. If you get scored near post, with the exception of, like I mentioned, them shooting it super close where there's no reaction time, etc., then it's much more of what did I do? You know, what could I have done better? Did I not cut off the angle properly, etc.? You know, in some cases, I've made saves by just being in the right position near post and the striker actually shooting the ball into my body at close range, where I haven't even had time to make a hand reaction save. I've just put my body physically in the way of the angle and made a save that way. And that's a legit save as well. So take nothing away from that either. Being in the right time, in the right place is where you're going to make the majority of your saves. So that's near post. When we talk about saves coming straight on, this is the worst nightmare of most goalkeepers, because, again, you have nothing to cut the angle off in your favor. It's a 50-50. They're coming straight at you. Stepping off your line is always going to be important to do, because you are going to that is going to mathematically cut down the angles in which they can shoot around you. But of course, it does leave you open to the chip sometimes, depending on how far you come out. That's all about timing. But essentially, at a 50-50 shot, or a 50-50 straight on angle, all you're trying to do is you're just trying to reduce the likelihood that they can score around the angles. So stepping up off your line is going to be the first one. About the 6-yard line there is a good guidance for a straight on shot if they're like at the edge of the box, for instance. One thing that you can do, and one thing that I've done in the past, is look at the shot animation. So what I call the wind up. So when the striker is winding up for a shot, there are going to be certain animations and telltale hints about what type of shot it's going to be. So this is where, you know, it's good for you as a goalkeeper to understand strikers and understand how the striker role is played in the game, and, you know, go and make yourself a striker build, go into practice mode or whatever, start just practicing and doing shots, and try to memorize and understand at what angle you approach the net, what type of shot animation is done for, you know, power shots, finesse shots, regular shots, shots outside the box, shots inside the box. Be very good at understanding and recognizing the shot animations and the windups for the strikers at certain areas. Once you get really good at that, then that will help you on straight on shots, because they'll start to tell you, and they'll start to do little hints and tells in terms of what type of shot it's going to be, but also what direction that they're going to be facing to, their shoulder, you know, what direction they're facing, their shoulders, their head, their hips, etc., like that. So those are little hints, and that's more of an advanced thing for sure. Like once you get comfortable, once you play a lot of games, you can really just understand intuitively what type of shots are coming at you. Animation things. If you play on a big screen TV, for instance, if you play on a 60-inch TV, the striker is bigger on the screen, so that's going to allow you to see much more of the animations. If you're playing on a computer monitor, 28-inch monitor, 27-inch monitor, or 30-inch monitor, you're not going to be able to see it as well, but still look for it, still try to understand it, build in that instinct. When we talk about one-on-one sort of breakaway, one-on-one shots. Striker, no defensive pressure, completely free coming at you. You have to understand, again, that the strikers are good at what they do. They're most likely going to score. There are some things that you can do, however. Number one, step off your line as they come in. Don't step off too far, too early. If they're outside the box, if they're well outside the box, stand your ground, stay within the 6-yard line before they start coming into the box. Once they start to get to the edge of the box and they're getting into an area that's very dangerous for a shot, now you want to take 1, 2, 3 steps off your line. Be careful that you're not moving when the shot's being taken. And this goes for real life goalkeeping as well. When you step off your line for a shot, your body, your momentum, your inertia is carrying you forward, directly straight ahead. So it's going to be very difficult for you to make adjustments left or right, diagonal, back, front. You're not going to be able to stop your momentum when you're rushing out forward, right? All your weight's forward, all your momentum's forward, all the force is forward, right? So when you go out and when you rush out, you have to make sure that you're committed to it, right? There's no half-assing it. You have to come out like you mean it, like you are going to grab that ball, right? And so obviously on one-on-ones, you want to try to time it so that when they take a touch, they're sprinting at you. When they take a touch and the ball is off their foot, that's when you're coming off. And that takes some finessing, that takes some experience, it takes some, trial and error. But for the most part, if you step off your line 2 or 3 steps, you're going to be in a much better position for when they get within that shooting danger area for you to hold that triangle and come out for the ball once the ball's off their foot. So that's on the breakaways. If they have time and space to make a shot, come off your line, but don't commit. Try to see what they do. Most good strikers are never just going to run straight at you and shoot, right? Some might, so you got to be ready for that. But a lot of them are going to wait for the goalkeeper to come out and commit, and then they want to do a ball roll past you and then tap the ball in. At the high level competitive area, most strikers are going to do some sort of skill move, something like that. So in that instance, it's good to jockey, use your jockey key, your L2, or use your L1 for that. So, that's an instance where it's good to start tapping that L1 to make those micro adjustments to that person. So if they do a ball roll and you're tapping L1, you're gonna have a little bit more flexibility in terms of not being committed to a certain angle, not overcommitting, not running past the ball, etc. Things like that happens if you are either completely left stick manually moving, or if you're doing a combination of a triangle or something like this, or even in some cases, if the ball gets close to you and they're going to try to ball roll, you don't want to use your right analog stick because that's going to proc a dive probably, and then he's going to miss it and he's just going to dribble around you. So your best thing to do is when they are coming at you and they're trying to do some skill moves and stuff, is to be able to jockey and not really commit to one angle or another, but still make sure you're stepped off your line so that you are cutting off some of the angle, and then wait for them to make that bad touch, and then boom, you're triangle and you're in on the ball. All right, so that's going to do it for episode 3, shot stopping. I covered a bunch of things from basics to advanced things. I'm sure I missed something along the way, so don't forget to drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Ask questions. I do also maybe want to do a future series, either a live stream or a series of YouTube videos where I analyze your saves or your misses and give you tips and tricks on how to improve via user submission videos. That would probably be through my Discord. So if you're in my Twitch stream or my YouTube, you can get the invite link to the Discord there. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. And again, if you've missed previous episodes, be sure to go back in the playlist and check out episodes 1 and 2. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode next week. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, and always clean your goalkeeper gloves.